Welcome to Fate Grand Order. If you're not an experienced master, don't worry. This Empire are here to show you the ropes and get you prepared. I saw a lot of videos talking about things like which 3 star to level, which bronzers are good, and generally a lot of general topics that are helpful for newbies. However, it struck me that there isn't a general helpful video that covers just what a new player needs to do. This video is obviously going to be more targeted towards those messages started a little later, because what I'm going to say here should be obvious to most people who have been playing for a few months already. I also want to make clear how each person views the game depends on their own experiences, so I'm not here to show you the one and only way to play the game. I'll give you suggestions and it's your choice if you want to hear them or not. So let's say you are watching this before playing the game at all. You're on the fence about if you want to play this game or not, and someone linked this video or it was recommended to you by YouTube or something. Here's what I ask you, what do you expect of this game? Like I said before, each person is going to view the game with completely different eyes. There are many ways to play any given game, but what does FGO offer? FGO is a mobile game that features a character gacha, which is basically a random way to acquire them, and you have no real control over it. So just by that detail, if you're the kind of person that likes collecting every single character in a game and raising them, let me just warn you that doing this here will be expensive. You make your 7 stronger and then have turn-based combat with advantages and disadvantages depending on class. What this means is that you're gonna get grinding a lot because you want as many different classes for everything as you possibly can. So you get ready for a lot of grinding. Especially if you want to level up skills, they take a lot of materials, a lot of QP and a lot of stuff. So if your grind is gonna be extra hard if you want to max those characters as strong as they can be. Keep in mind that the only way to max a character by NP is by rolling the FP or the Extended Parts Gacha. So you probably, unless you're planning on spending money, you're not gonna max every character in the game. On top of it all, there is no auto combat feature, you can't skip a lot of the longer animation, it is a bit overwhelming to get into this series, there's a lot of stuff to learn, and many other issues. But stay strong. Either you think those things are positives or negatives, just remember that the community will be here to help you. Another drive of the game is the visual novel hybrid it has going for it. Personally, I do like this story, but to me it's not the driving point of the series, but maybe for you it might be. Now let's say I managed to convince you, and you fire the game up, update it, and then you play the tutorial. Here's the first decision you must make when you start the game. Do you want to reroll for something in specific? If you ask me, rerolling, I consider it a waste of time, but for a lot of people, it's very important to get the character they want right away because uh, they're gonna be playing the game with that character most of the time. So if they don't get the character, there's no much point on keeping playing the game for them. If you're one of those people, there are a lot of tutorials for you about rerolling that you can find on the internet. Just Google FGO reroll, you're gonna find them, but personally I don't recommend it. If you want to just get into the game and play, you can do that. I did that and I don't regret it. So you don't absolutely need to reroll, but if you want to for a specific character, that's fine. The tutorial will eventually reach the part where you realize 2 things. First, that your characters are not leveling up by combat, and second, that you can use a support character from other players to help you out. The fact you can borrow a servant to help you out is absolutely huge. For a new player, that means 1/3 of your team's maxed out and ready to deliver pain. But there's a catch. You can only use the NP if you're friends with someone. So thankfully, it's not too hard to find people willing to help newbies. My suggestion is to join a community, be it Reddit, Facebook, Discord, YouTube, Twitch, or even, I don't know, 4chan. You can find some nice people who will accept you and help you out. The story is also easy enough that you can do most of the early fights without needing any beat at all, and you can just go sending friend requests along the way as you use people's servants. Make sure to take a look at your supports page and set up whatever you have. Don't worry about levels too much. People are more likely to accept you if they see that you're putting effort, and rather than just leave a blank mash you level 1 on your own as your only support. Now let's say you have secured some reliable friends and clear, let's say, the first chapter of the story. Well done! Now what do? Well, from here you have a few options. You can first focus on raising your servants, or you can keep going doing the story until you can start having real problems with the fights. Then you take a break for leveling your servants. Or maybe there is an event going on right now and you can join and you want to join in as soon as possible. Outside events are the priority that you should take. So if there's one going on, it's a good idea to do it when you can. Rush as much of the story you need to clear the to join the event, and the events are the best spots to farm materials and acquire a lot of stuff like that. Even XP can be acquired at most events. But in case there's no event, you have to decide what you want to do. I recommend doing the story until you have at least 40 AP, and then you can do 40 AP Ember gatherings on the gate. You'll be leveling up a lot, so don't worry about depleting your AP on one day. And if you can't level anyone, just go do the story. I don't recommend getting too hung up on grinding materials outside of events. The daily maps aren't all that good compared to Embers early on, and you should only really turn to them if you're really desperate. QP plays a big part of leveling skill later on, but early on, chances are you're not gonna need it, so avoid doing that for a while too. At best, do the 40 AP for the mana prisms, that's it. And speaking of Mana Prism, there is a Mana Prism shop where you can get tickets to roll the gacha and other goodies. It replenishes every month, and getting at least a ticket is highly recommended. The best way to farm for Mana Prism is to burn 3-star XP or simply do events. Generally speaking, if you are on a budget, I'd only get the tickets. The XP and falls are nice, but you might want to save for one of the passive effect shop series. They are game breaking or necessary, but they help. EXP isn't the best to get unless you're desperate. You can get the first few if you like, nothing wrong with that, but as time goes by, realize it's not worth getting them too much. Unless you have so many mana prisms you don't want to have save the XP on your gift box for future rolls. Foes are nice, they increase the HP and attack of your characters to a certain point. They're better by than XP, in my opinion, but because they're not farmable. But chances are you won't be using every single foe ever, so you probably would not need a shop to get those foes. But if you do want to get them, it's not terrible. I just don't recommend doing that right away. You also notice there is another prism shop, the rare prism shop. Now rare prism you can only obtain by burning 4-star or higher servants. I can't tell you who you should burn or even if you should burn someone at all to buy things in there. But usually if you have to buy something in there, I recommend the Mystic Codes. In special as of the time of the recording, Anniversary Blown is really solid for high damage on one turn with Buster Crits, and Fragments of 2004 suits pretty much every servant, so it's one of the most versatile offensive Mystic Codes out there. But I wouldn't be too worried if you don't get them, as the default Mystic Codes are really good. Overall, I wouldn't recommend getting anything else from the Rare Prism shop currently, unless you already have NP5 or someone so burning that makes sense. The shop sees the Mystic would also be here, but keep in mind that when you purchase it with a Rare Prism, you don't get a copy of the CE, you unlock it on the Mana Prism shop. So you can buy it with Mana Prism for 1000 Mana Prism each copy. So be careful and plan before you unlock them with Rare Prisms. Now let's talk briefly about playstyles, in special what I think will be beneficial to a new player. You might have watched other videos before this one, maybe you saw a boss being hit for a million of damage, or maybe you saw a single character slowly but surely clear a boss, maybe you saw just a regular everyday thing you might be doing up to this point. Well, even if you haven't, let me break down exactly what happens when you are new to the game. The servant you'll be using as support is so likely to be much stronger than the rest of the team, so you are likely to take someone that can dish out damage for you. This is completely normal and I think the smartest way to play the game early on. But what does that mean for you? It means that you have to settle on using support so you damage for a while, until you can get your feet into the game and stand by yourself. Once you have a base of servants ready, you can use your own damage dealers, and then you start seeing a shift where you start using more supportish servants like Waver. But for now, let's say you are using your support servant as your main DPS. Who's good to raise to help you with this? First, my tip is to not be fooled by rarity. In this game, rarity doesn't mean a whole lot. There are a little bit more stats. Skills and other things play a big factor in making a servant good or bad. The first servant I recommend for new players is George. George has a 3-turn taunt coupled with a defense buff and guts. Once you give him some levels, you can absorb a considerable amount of damage to protect your damage dealer. Another 7 that is very effective on this playstyle is Hans. You can charge his NP and make stars, though not that many without level skills, but he doesn't need to. His NP is what makes him a great support. It provides buffs and HP restore, meaning your damage dealer is more effective and has survivability. Another character that is often overlooked, I think, is Dion. Dion can also tank like George for 3 turns, and even though she doesn't get a defense buff, he can survive really well. If you manage to roll waiver, he's obviously a great ally. Buffs coupled with NP charge make the dealer use NP more often. What's not to like? Leonidas is not the best tank out there, but he is an option you can keep in mind if you either don't have a George yet or you're up against assassins. Mashu and John are great defensive servants. The scariest thing early on for you will be AoE NPs, and both of them have ways to protect your damage dealer from it. Kotaro is a star generator. It debuffs enemies and can give your main damage dealer a turn of evasion. He's worth investing at least a little into early on. David is also really handy to have level up. He gives the entire party one hit of evasion, which absolutely destroys some AoE bosses. Medea Lily can keep you alive to a lot, but packs no evasion of her own, sadly. She's also considerably rare because she's only on the story gacha. If you're looking for offensive options to raise up, Hercules obviously is a great because he can dish damage while being hard to kill. With his Monsi, he's just extra silly. If you have a cool altar, maybe you also just tear things to shred. I recommend don't not falling off for the trap of only using the Berserker as your main damage dealer, because not every quest is a good idea to take a Berserker to, and because of that, it's good to have a lot of classes raised up. But if you just want something that works at first, Berserker is a good choice. It won't work for everything ever, but it will work for most things. Outside of that, you have Robin, who can hit red hard if you properly time his skills and NP. Iriale, who can shut down fight against melee enemies so hard you feel a little bad about it. Fate's Technique, who is so hard to kill, he's almost guaranteed to dish out so much damage he will kill most people before he dies. Lubu can do a good amount of burst damage, but requires support. Caesar and Ushiwakamaru can help with buffs while also dishing out some damage. Arash will be great raise for farming. Medea is handy to have to remove buffs and deal a lot of burst damage in one turn. And basically most SR and SSRs can kinda work offensive somewhat, except for a few more niche servants, but you'll be able to spot them pretty easily by just looking at their kits. Like Medea Lily, for instance, who's mostly geared towards healing. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight on what to do early on, what you can work towards and what not. But here are a few extra tips I'm going to add in. First, don't forget to do your FP gacha summons early on. Bronze servants are really useful, especially when cost is a big issue early on. Second, you might even get some silver servants out of it, which is really good. Also, focus on leveling up and assigning a good base of servants from various classes. As most fights won't only feature enemies weak to one class, it's good that sometimes you bring someone who can help out with the damage. You can work on leveling skills later, but if you must level a skill, try stopping at 4 until you get a good base of materials going on. Third, look at the description of this video. I'll prepare a few links of guides that go a bit more depth about game mechanics and wikis that you can use to look up more information for yourself. Generally speaking, don't use servants to level up your servants. Use XP cards, use gold XP cards if you can. Silver are okay, don't bother with bronze that much. Don't burn servants that you think you're never gonna use because they might be useful for an event bonus or something. So keep a copy of every servant even if you don't like them. It's my suggestion. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I suggest you keep every servant at least a copy. even if you don't plan on leveling them at all. And last, if you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know. If there is positive feedback, I'm much more likely to want to keep going doing stuff like this. I have a few other ideas of videos that people might like, such as maybe a video about what skills are good to level up. But those things are kind of subjective. I can only give my insight on the subject. I can't speak generally for everyone, sadly, and no one can, and that's a good thing actually. But if you ask my opinion, and if you like my opinion, I'm glad to share it with you. I just need to know that there are people interested in hearing about them. So share the video, like the video, subscribe, and all that good shit. Thank you for watching, and peace out.